Have you ever wondered why some people seem unbreakable, while you feel stuck restarting the same promises over and over again? Not because you're weak, not because you lack talent, but because something invisible keeps pulling you backward when you're trying to move forward. You feel it late at night, that quiet frustration. The sense that you're capable of more, yet somehow keep falling short. You don't need another motivational quote. You don't need hype. You need truth. The kind that stings a little before it sets you free. Most people believe discipline is about pushing harder, waking up earlier, grinding longer, forcing motivation out of an empty body. But that belief is exactly what keeps them trapped. Discipline isn't built by adding more weight to your life. It's built by removing what drains you, the habits you repeat without noticing, the decisions you excuse without questioning, the comfort you protect, even when it's quietly destroying your future. You weren't born inconsistent. You were trained that way, trained to chase comfort, trained to wait until you feel ready, trained to believe that tomorrow is always safer than today. And every time you delay, your brain learns a dangerous lesson that quitting is normal, that starting later is acceptable, that potential can always wait. Highly disciplined people are not stronger than you. They don't have superhuman willpower. They don't wake up excited every morning. They feel resistance. They feel doubt. They feel exhaustion. The difference is simple, but uncomfortable. They refuse to do certain things no matter how tempting they feel. While most people ask what they should start doing, disciplined people focus on what they must stop doing. This is where everything begins to change. Because discipline isn't about intensity. It's about identity. It's not about forcing action. It's about protecting standards. The moment you decide what you will no longer tolerate from yourself, your life starts to shift, not loudly, not dramatically, quietly, internally. One decision at a time. Right now, your days may feel scattered, your focus divided, your energy drained before noon. You try to improve your life, but something always pulls you back to the familiar, the scroll, the delay. The excuse that sounds reasonable in the moment, but leaves regret behind later. That cycle isn't random. It's predictable. And once you see it clearly, it loses its power over you. Discipline is not punishment. It's relief. Relief from chaos. Relief from self-disappointment. Relief from lying awake at night knowing you could have done more but didn't. True discipline removes that weight. It simplifies your life. It clears mental noise. It replaces guilt with calm. There's a version of you that doesn't panic about the future. A version that trusts themselves. A version that doesn't rely on motivation because they no longer need it. That version isn't created through massive breakthroughs. It's created through refusal. Refusal to abandon standards, refusal to negotiate with weakness, refusal to trade tomorrow for comfort today. Most people spend their lives searching for motivation. Disciplined people stop searching and start choosing structure over chaos, progress over pleasure, respect over relief. And once that choice is made repeatedly, something powerful happens. Confidence grows. Not the loud kind, the quiet kind. The kind that comes from knowing you will show up. Even when no one is watching, you don't need to become someone new. You don't need to transform overnight. You don't need to overhaul your entire life. You only need to stop doing what's quietly holding you back. When those things disappear, discipline doesn't feel heavy anymore. It feels natural, almost automatic. If you stay with this, something will shift. Not because of inspiration, but because clarity changes behavior. When you finally understand what disciplined people refuse to do, you stop fighting yourself. You stop blaming motivation. You stop waiting for the perfect moment, and for the first time, forward movement feels possible. That feeling you're sensing right now isn't motivation, it's awareness. The moment when excuses start to sound hollow and the truth begins to echo louder. Because deep down, you already know what's costing you your growth. You feel it every time you say you'll start tomorrow. Every time you break a promise to yourself and pretend it doesn't matter. It matters more than you think. Every broken promise weakens trust, not with others, with yourself. And when self-trust disappears, discipline collapses. You stop believing your own words. You stop taking your goals seriously. You stop showing up because experience has taught you that you probably won't finish anyway. That's the silent damage most people never talk about. Highly disciplined people protect self-trust like their life depends on it, because it does. They understand something brutal. Your future is built on tiny decisions no one applauds, no audience, no recognition, just choices made when it would be easier not to. And every time you follow through, something shifts inside your mind. Confidence doesn't appear from success. It's created from keeping small promises repeatedly. This is where urgency begins. Time is moving whether you act or not. The days don't slow down because you're tired. The years don't wait until you feel ready. Life keeps advancing, quietly collecting the cost of hesitation. And one day hesitation turns into regret, not loud regret, heavy regret. The kind that sits in your chest when you realize you had more chances than you used. Discipline is the barrier between regret and pride. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your habits. That's not poetry. That's psychology. Your brain follows patterns, not intentions. It believes what you repeatedly do, not what you repeatedly say. If you want change, your actions must speak louder than your plans. That's why disciplined people remove decision fatigue. They don't argue with themselves every morning. They don't wake up wondering if today is the day. The decision has already been made. They decided once. Then they obey that decision daily, while others wait for confidence. Disciplined people build it through motion, while others search for clarity. Disciplined people earn it through effort. Movement creates belief, not the other way around. Right now, there's a quiet battle happening inside you. One voice wants comfort, the other wants growth. Comfort speaks first. It's convincing. It sounds reasonable. Growth speaks later. It's calm, direct, unemotional. And every day, one of those voices gets stronger depending on which one you obey. You don't eliminate weakness by fighting it. You starve it by refusing to feed it. That refusal is powerful. It changes how you see yourself. You stop identifying as someone who tries. You become someone who does, someone reliable, someone grounded, someone dangerous in the best way, because they don't depend on mood, energy, or praise. Discipline creates freedom most people never experience. Freedom from chaos, freedom from constant self-negotiation, freedom from the exhausting cycle of starting over. When discipline is present, life becomes lighter, not heavier. Decisions become simpler. Stress decreases. Focus sharpens. You stop reacting. You start directing. This is not about becoming extreme. It's about becoming consistent, not perfect. Present, not obsessed. Committed. Discipline isn't built through punishment. It's built through clarity. Knowing exactly who you refuse to be anymore, because once you decide that certain behaviors are no longer an option, everything changes. Temptation loses its grip. Excuses lose their power. Progress becomes inevitable. You are closer than you think, not because you've mastered everything, but because you're finally seeing the real battlefield. Not the gym, not the calendar, not the to-do list. The battlefield is the moment you're tempted to choose what's easy instead of what's right. Win that moment often enough, and your life will not recognize itself a year from now. This isn't about becoming perfect overnight. It's about drawing a line. About choosing standards over feeling, about understanding that discipline is not something you find. It's something you decide to stop abandoning. The moment you stop abandoning discipline, something unfamiliar appears. Silence. No inner arguing. No exhausting debate. Just clarity. That clarity can feel uncomfortable at first because chaos has been your normal for so long. But clarity is power. And power demands responsibility. Most people run from that responsibility. They distract themselves. They stay busy so they don't have to face the truth. Because the truth is heavy. The truth says your life is shaped by what you tolerate, not what you dream about, not what you talk about, what you allow to continue. EV. Every habit you keep is a vote for the person you're becoming. Every excuse you repeat is a contract you sign with your weaker self. And over time, those contracts compound, slowly, quietly, until one day you wake up surrounded by results you didn't consciously choose. Highly disciplined people understand this early. They don't let small slips become identities. They don't let bad days turn into bad decades. They act fast. They correct quickly. They refuse to let one mistake become a pattern, because patterns are dangerous. Patterns shape identity. Identity shapes destiny. That's why urgency matters now, not later. Now. Because discipline delayed is discipline denied. Waiting for the right moment is how average lives are built. The right moment rarely arrives. It is created through discomfort. Discipline is not dramatic. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't feel heroic. It feels ordinary, repetitive, almost boring. But boredom done daily becomes excellence, while excitement chased endlessly becomes exhaustion. You don't need intensity. You need control. Control of your mornings, control of your reactions. Control of your impulses, because the person who controls their impulses controls their future. Impulse is emotional. Discipline is intentional. One steals tomorrow. The other builds it. Every time you say no to what weakens you, you say yes to something greater, something invisible at first. Confidence, stability, momentum. These don't arrive suddenly. They stack, quietly, like bricks laid daily. And once momentum exists, everything changes. Progress accelerates, doubt loses its voice. You stop asking if you're capable, because your actions answer for you. This is where belief is born. Not belief from words, belief from evidence. Proof created by consistency. Most people never experience this version of themselves, not because it's unreachable, but because it requires something they avoid. Repetition without reward. Effort without applause. Faith without immediate results. Discipline asks you to plant seeds in the dark. No feedback. No reassurance. Just trust. And that's where most quit. But if you stay, something rare happens. You begin to feel grounded, stable, hard to shake. Life throws pressure at you, but you don't collapse the way you used to. You don't panic. You don't spiral. You respond. Discipline turns reaction into response. It teaches you that emotions don't have to be obeyed. Thoughts don't have to be believed. Urges don't have to be followed. You gain distance between impulse and action. That distance is freedom. Freedom is not doing whatever you want. That's chaos. Freedom is doing what aligns with your future even when you don't feel like it. That's power. And power changes how you walk into rooms, how you speak to yourself, how you face hard days. You stop asking life to be easier. You become stronger. You realize discipline isn't something you add to life. It becomes the foundation beneath everything. Health improves because routines exist. Finances stabilize because impulse shrinks. Focus sharpens because distraction no longer controls you. The world doesn't change. You do. This is the turning point most people miss. They search for discipline as if it's hidden somewhere outside them. But discipline isn't found. It's chosen repeatedly. Especially on the days when quitting feels justified. Those days matter most. Because discipline built on easy days is fragile. Discipline built on hard days is unbreakable. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not lacking something others have. You simply haven't drawn the line deeply enough yet. Once you do, life responds not with miracles, with momentum. And momentum, once started, is hard to stop. Stay long enough in discipline, and it will give back everything comfort once promised but never delivered. Confidence, direction, pride, peace, not all at once, but enough to change everything. Momentum is fragile at first. It doesn't roar, it whispers. And if you don't protect it, life will try to steal it back. Old habits will knock. Old comfort will tempt you. The past version of you will ask for control again. This is the moment that defines everything, because discipline isn't proven when life is calm. It's proven when resistance returns. You will feel the pull to relax, to slow down, to tell yourself you've done enough. That's the danger point, not failure. Familiarity. Familiarity convinces you that growth can wait. That progress will always be there tomorrow. It won't. Every day you hesitate. The gap widens between who you are and who you could be, and that gap doesn't close on its own. It must be crossed deliberately, step by step, choice by choice. Highly disciplined people understand something most never learn. Consistency is not about intensity. It's about refusal. Refusal to drift. Refusal to numb. Refusal to surrender control of their direction. They don't rise because life is easy. They rise because they refuse to sink. There will be days when discipline feels pointless, when effort seems invisible, when results stay silent. Those days are not setbacks, they are tests. Tests of identity, tests of belief, tests asking one simple question. Are you doing this for outcomes, or because this is who you are now? When discipline becomes identity, everything stabilizes. You no longer depend on praise. You no longer need validation. You stop explaining your path. You move quietly, confidently, relentlessly. While others announce intentions, you accumulate evidence. That evidence becomes unshakable self-respect. Self-respect changes how you live. You stop tolerating chaos. You stop accepting mediocrity. You stop betraying yourself for short comfort. You begin to treat your time like something sacred, because it is. Your time is your life in pieces. Every distraction you entertain is a piece handed away. Every habit you repeat is a direction chosen. And whether you realize it or not, you are voting daily for the life you will wake up to later. Most people hope for change. Disciplined people schedule it. Hope is emotional. Discipline is structural. Hope fades under pressure. Structure holds. When structure enters your life, anxiety decreases. Clarity increases. You stop guessing. You start executing. You don't ask what you feel like doing. You ask what needs to be done. That shift creates power, not loud power. Internal power, the kind that allows you to sit alone without restlessness. to work without external pressure, to walk away from temptation without struggle. You stop feeling pulled in every direction because you've chosen one. Direction eliminates confusion. Confusion drains energy. Direction multiplies it. This is why discipline feels hard in the beginning and freeing later. At first, it restricts chaos, then it removes it completely. What once felt limiting becomes protective. You realize discipline didn't take your freedom. It gave it back. Freedom from regret. Freedom from constant restudying. Freedom from the exhausting cycle of wanting more but doing less. The disciplined life is not smaller. It's cleaner, focused, intentional. Calm, and calm is dangerous in a world addicted to noise. While others panic, you plan. While others react, you respond. While others chase motivation, you rely on standards. Standards don't fluctuate. They don't care how you feel. They don't argue. They simply exist. And when you live by them long enough, your confidence stops depending on outcomes. You now who you are because you've proven it repeatedly. That proof changes how you face fear. Fear doesn't disappear, but it loses authority. You act anyway. You move anyway. You trust your discipline more than your doubt. This is the moment growth accelerates, not when everything aligns. When you do, when your actions match your intentions, when your habits match your goals, when your daily behavior finally reflects your ambition, you stop dreaming about becoming someone better. You become them quietly through repetition, and one day, without realizing it, you look back and recognize the person you used to be. The hesitation, the inconsistency, the endless restarting, they feel distant. Not because life became easier, because you became disciplined. And discipline, once rooted, doesn't fade. It compounds. It strengthens. It protects. It carries you through days when motivation disappears and belief feels thin. It becomes your anchor. The world will continue to test you. Stress will return. Temptation will resurface. Pressure will rise. But you will not break the way you once did, because now you are built on something stronger than emotion. You are built on decision. And a decided mind is almost impossible to defeat. A decided mind changes the way the world responds to you, not because circumstances soften, but because you stop bending every time pressure appears. You no longer collapse under stress. You don't look for exits. You look for execution. That shift is rare, and see, it happens. Life stops feeling random. Discipline creates weight behind your presence. Your words mean more because you keep them. Your goals feel real because you move toward them daily. You stop chasing confidence and start carrying it. Quietly. Firmly. Without needing approval. Most people live at the mercy of their emotions. When they feel good, they act. When they don't, they disappear. That cycle keeps them trapped. Discipline breaks it. It teaches you that feelings are weather, not direction. Storms pass. Structure stays. When you understand that, panic loses control. Stress stops dictating behavior. You don't rush decisions. You don't self-sabotage progress because of one hard day. You remain steady while others spiral. Steadiness wins, not overnight, not dramatically, but inevitably. This is why disciplined people seem calm in chaos. They've trained themselves to rely on process, not emotion. When motivation fades, their systems remain. When excitement dies, their standards stay alive. Standards are anchored. They keep you grounded when the mind tries to drift backward. Because the mind will try. It will whisper old narratives, tell you to slow down, tell you you've changed enough, tell you it's safe to relax now. That voice doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're growing. Growth threatens the comfort of who you used to be, and comfort will fight to survive. You must be stronger than nostalgia. The past will always feel familiar. Familiar does not mean right. It only means repeated. Discipline teaches you to stop confusing familiarity with safety. The life you want exists beyond what feels normal. That's why discipline requires courage, not loud courage. Quiet courage. The courage to wake up and do the work again. The courage to say no when no one would blame you for saying yes. The courage to stay consistent when nobody notices, because nobody notices at first, they notice later. When results speak, when habits show, when the gap becomes obvious between those who waited and those who were. That gap widens fast. While others hesitate, you accumulate. While others debate, you execute. While others search for motivation, you rely on discipline already in play. This is how momentum becomes unstoppable, not through speed, through direction. Once your direction is clear, distractions lose appeal. You stop chasing everything because you know what matters. Focus sharpens, energy returns. Time feels fuller because it's no longer fragmented. Fragmented effort creates exhaustion. Focused effort creates power. That power doesn't scream. It hums. Constant, reliable, present even on hard days. Discipline doesn't eliminate struggle. It gives struggle meaning. You no longer suffer randomly. You suffer intentionally. For growth, for progress, for a future you respect. That distinction changes everything. Pain without purpose destroys people. Pain with purpose builds them. And discipline supplies that purpose. It reminds you why you started and motivation disappears. It carries you when belief feels thin. It keeps you moving when emotion begs you to stop. This is why disciplined people are dangerous to mediocrity. They don't rely on perfect conditions. They create momentum under imperfect ones. Life will never be fully ready for you. You must be ready anyway. The world rewards those who act without permission, those who don't wait for clarity before moving, those who understand that clarity comes from action, not thought. Action sharpens the mind. Inaction dulls it. Every disciplined decision strengthens your ability to choose again tomorrow. Every time you follow through, resistance weakens. What once felt impossible becomes routine. Routine becomes identity. Identity becomes destiny. You are not chasing discipline anymore. You are becoming it. And when discipline becomes who you are, no setback can define you. No delay can derail you. No failure can stop you for long. Because disciplined people don't quit, they adjust. They refine. They continue. They understand that success is not a moment. It's a lifestyle built quietly through daily alignment between intention and action. That alignment is rare, powerful, transformational. And once you taste it, comfort no longer satisfies you. You want growth. You want structure. You want the calm confidence that comes from knowing you are in control of your choices, not perfectly, but consistently. And consistency over time changes everything. Consistency begins to pay your self-image before it changes your life. You start seeing yourself differently, not as someone chasing improvement, but as someone becoming dependable. That shift is powerful because the way you see yourself determines what you tolerate, what you pursue, and what you walk away from. When discipline settles in, excuses lose their appeal. They don't disappear, but they sound weak, empty. You hear them for what they are, attempts to protect comfort at the cost of growth. And once you hear that clearly, you can't unhear it. This is when many people turn back. Not because the work is too hard, but because the identity shift feels heavy. Growth demands responsibility. Responsibility removes the illusion of randomness. You realize your outcomes aren't accidental. They are earned. That realization is intimidating and empowering. Because if your actions created the struggle, your actions can create the solution. Discipline hands you the steering wheel. No more blaming circumstances. No more waiting for rescue. No more hoping something external will change your direction. You become the constant, the anchor, the standard. That's when urgency sharpens. Not panic urgency, purpose urgency. The understanding that every day you delay alignment, you extend dissatisfaction. Every time you compromise your standards, you reinforce the version of yourself you're trying to leave behind, and the cost compounds. Unlived potential doesn't disappear. It waits. It grows heavier with time. It becomes regret if ignored too long. Discipline prevents that weight from forming. It allows you to respect your future enough to act today, even when the reward is invisible, even when no one knows, even when it would be easier to stop, especially then, because discipline built in private becomes strength displayed in public. People will later call it luck, timing, talent. They won't see the mornings you showed up tired, the nights you said no, the habits you repeated long after excitement faded. They won't see the discipline, but you will, and that's what matters. When you trust yourself, anxiety loses its grip. You stop worrying about whether you'll follow through. You already know the answer. That certainty creates calm. Calm sharpens focus. Focus accelerates progress. This is how discipline multiplies. It improves everything it touches. Your mind becomes clearer because chaos no longer runs unchecked. Your emotions stabilize because your actions aren't dictated by mood. Your confidence strengthens because it's grounded in proof, not hope. Proof is powerful. Hope disappears under pressure. Proof holds. That's why disciplined people keep moving when others freeze. They've proven to themselves that discomfort isn't fatal, that resistance can be endured, that progress doesn't require perfection, only persistence. Persistence doesn't feel heroic, it feels repetitive. It feels ordinary. But ordinary actions repeated daily create extraordinary outcomes. That truth is simple and difficult because the mind craves novelty. Discipline demands repetition, but repetition is where mastery lies. Every time you repeat the right behavior, you deepen the groove. The action becomes easier, the resistance weaker. What once required effort becomes automatic. This is where discipline transforms from effort into lifestyle. You no longer fight yourself every day. You've trained your habits to support you instead of sabotage you. Life stops feeling like a constant uphill battle, not because challenges disappear, because you are prepared. Preparation builds confidence. Confidence fuels momentum. Momentum creates belief. Belief becomes unshakable when backed by action. You start trusting your ability to adapt, to recover, to continue even when plans fail. You stop fearing setbacks because discipline teaches resilience. Failure no longer defines you. It informs you. You adjust and move forward. That ability alone separates those who succeed from those who stall. The disciplined don't need perfect streaks. They need commitment to return over and over, without drama, without self-hate, without quitting entirely. That return is strength. Each time you come back, your identity solidifies. You are no longer someone who gives up. You are someone who continues. That identity becomes your shield. Life will challenge you. Stress will rise. Motivation will disappear again. But discipline doesn't rely on motivation. It relies on decision. And once the decision is made deeply enough, behavior follows. You stop asking how to stay disciplined. You simply live it. The noise fades. The doubt quiets. The path narrows. Forward becomes obvious. This is not about becoming extreme. It's about becoming aligned. When your actions match your values, peace replaces pressure. You move with purpose instead of panic. That peace is earned. And once earned, it cannot be taken easily, because discipline doesn't change your life all at once. It changes you first. And when you change, everything around you eventually follows. Alignment brings a strange calm, but calm is not the end. It's the beginning of responsibility. When you know what you're capable of, you can't pretend anymore. You can't unsee your potential. You can't go back to careless days without feeling the weight of wasted time pressing on your chest. That weight is not there to punish you. It's there to wake you up. Because awareness changes the rules. Once you understand that your actions shape your future, every choice matters more, every delay carries a cost, every shortcut leaves a mark. Discipline sharpens your vision until excuses become obvious and avoidance feels unbearable. You start noticing patterns everywhere. How one skipped task becomes two. How one distracted hour steals momentum from the entire day. How small compromises quietly rewrite your standards if you allow them. Two highly disciplined people never let small slips define the day. They correct immediately. They don't spiral. They dawn in self-attack. They adjust and move forward. Speed of recovery matters more than perfection. Most people fall not because they fail, but because they stay down too long. Discipline teaches you to stand up fast. This is where urgency deepens, not panic. Precision. The understanding that discipline must be practiced daily or it decays. There is no neutral ground. You are either reinforcing control or weakening it. Every day trains you. Either you train focus or distraction trains you. Either you train commitment or comfort trains you. Either you train discipline or life trains regret. Training happens whether you choose it or not. The difference is intention. When discipline becomes intentional, life stops drifting. You stop floating between desires and doubts. You plant your feet. You decide what matters. You decide what doesn't. And once that line is drawn, energy stops leaking in every direction. Energy becomes force. That force changes how you experience effort. What once felt exhausting now feels purposeful. You're no longer busy. You're building. You're not rushing. You're progressing. Progress creates hope grounded in reality, not fantasy hope. Earned hope, the kind that grows when you see evidence stacking behind you. When you realize you're capable of showing up even when conditions aren't perfect. When you understand that discipline is not harshness. It's honesty. Honesty with your time. Honesty with your limits. Honesty with your excuses. Truth hurts once. Regret hurts daily. Disciplined people choose the single pain that prevents the lifetime one. They accept discomfort early so they don't suffer later. That choice separates lives. Most people seek relief. Disciplined people seek alignment. Relief feels good now. Alignment feels good later. And later is where your future lives. The future is built quietly in moments no one sees. In mornings when quitting would be easier. In evenings when distraction calls loudly. In decisions so small they seem harmless. Those moments are not small. They are decisive, because your life is not shaped by major events. It is shaped by repeated behavior, and repeated behavior becomes character. Character carries you when emotion cannot. There will be days when you feel empty, when motivation is gone, when belief feels thin. Discipline doesn't vanish on those days. It steps forward. It whispers when everything else is loud. It reminds you that you don't need to feel powerful to act powerfully. Action creates power. Waiting destroys it. Every time you act despite resistance, something rewires inside you. The mind learns that discomfort is survivable. That effort doesn't kill you. That progress is possible even without inspiration. This is how fear loses control. Fear feeds on hesitation. Discipline starves it. Soon you realize you are no longer chasing strength, you are living from it. The chaos that once overwhelmed you now feels manageable. The pressure that once crushed you now sharpens you. Pressure DOS and destroy disciplined people. It reveals them. You stop asking for easier circumstances. You become capable of handling harder ones. That is real confidence, not loud, not arrogant, grounded. Confidence built from proof cannot be taken by opinion, failure, or delay. It's rooted too deep, and that depth changes your pace. You stop rushing. You stop forcing. You trust the process because you are the process. Discipline becomes the quiet companion in everything you do. It guides decisions, filters distractions, protects your future when emotion tries to sabotage it. You begin to move with intention instead of impulse, with clarity instead of chaos, with purpose instead of pressure. This is the moment where discipline stops being something you practice and becomes something you embody. You are no longer trying to change your life. You are living in alignment with the one you're building, and once alignment exists, momentum follows naturally, not fast, not flashy, but unstoppable. Unstoppable doesn't mean unchallenged. It means unshaken. Challenges will keep coming, but now they meet something solid. You no longer crumble at the first sign of resistance. You don't panic when progress slows. You don't quit when the excitement fades. You stay. Staying is rare. Most people leave the moment things stop feeling rewarding. They confuse emotion with direction. When the feeling disappears, so does the effort. Discipline teaches you that emotion is temporary, but direction must be permanent. This is where your strength deepens, because the real test is not starting. It's continuing when the results are quiet, when nobody notices, when improvement is internal before it's visible. That silence is dangerous for most. Silence makes people doubt. It makes them wonder if it's working. It tempts them to chase something new, something easier, something faster. Discipline rejects that urge. It understands that growth is slow at first, then sudden. Invisible roots before visible change. You don't dig up seeds every day to check if they're growing. You water them, you wait. You trust. Trust is built through repetition. Every day you show up, you reinforce belief. Not belief in outcomes, but belief in yourself. That belief becomes armor. When doubt attacks, it hits experience instead of hope. Experience always wins. This is why disciplined people walk differently, speak differently, decide differently. They've learned that their actions matter even when no one is watching, especially then. Character is built in private. Identity is formed in moments of choice when comfort and growth collide. And they collide daily. One path feels familiar, the other feels right. Familiarity keeps people trapped. Rightness moves people forward. Discipline is choosing right even when it's unfamiliar. That choice accumulates power, slowly at first, then relentlessly. You begin to notice changes others don't see yet. You think clearer. You waste less time. You recover faster from setback. Chaos. You stop overreacting. You stop self-sabotaging momentum. Your life becomes quieter. But stronger, quiet strength doesn't seek attention. It commands respect. The chaos that once consumed you loses its grip. You stop being pulled in every direction because you've chosen one. Direction simplifies everything. When you know where you're going, distractions feel irrelevant. That clarity is addictive, not in a frantic way, in a grounding way. You wake up knowing what matters. You go to sleep knowing you honored your standards. Standards create peace. Peace is not laziness. It's alignment. When your actions match your values, inner conflict disappears. You stop fighting yourself. You stop needing motivation because resistance fades when integrity is present. Integrity is doing what you said you would do, even when tired, even when bored, even when no reward is visible, especially then. This is the discipline most people never reach. The kind that isn't forced, the kind that isn't loud, the kind that simply exists, and once it exists, it changes your relationship with fear. Fear doesn't vanish, but it loses control. You stop asking whether you can handle difficulty. You already have, again and again. Evidence replaces doubt. That evidence builds courage. Courage is not confidence before action. It's confidence born after repeated action. You move forward not because you feel brave, but because discipline has proven you capable. Capable people don't wait for permission. They don't wait for perfect timing. They don't wait to feel ready. They act. Action clarifies everything. The more you act, the quieter the mind becomes. Overthinking fades when execution begins. Anxiety shrinks when progress starts. Discipline cuts through mental noise like a blade. Simplicity returns. You focus on what you can control. Your effort, your habits, your response. Everything else becomes background. This is when life starts to feel intentional instead of accidental. You're no longer reacting to circumstances. You're shaping them, not through force. Through consistency. Consistency compounds faster than talent, faster than motivation, faster than luck. It compounds silently until one day people notice and call it overnight success. You know better. You know is built on ordinary days done extraordinarily well. That knowledge makes you unbreakable, because no one can take away what you built slowly. Discipline doesn't make you perfect. It makes you reliable to yourself. The trust is priceless. When you trust yourself, hesitation disappears. You stop second-guessing decisions. You move forward with calm certainty. You no longer wonder if you'll stay consistent. You already are. This is not a phase, not a burst of motivation, not a temporary push. It's a way of living, a commitment to show up regardless of emotion, a refusal to return to who you used to be, a promise to your future that you will not abandon it for comfort. The promise changes everything. Be called. See, the moment you stop betraying yourself, life begins to open, not with ease, with strength, and strength, once earned, carries you anywhere you choose to go. Strength earned through discipline changes the way you experience the world. Problems no longer feel personal. Delays no longer feel threatening. You stop interpreting obstacles as signs to quit and start seeing them as confirmation that you're moving forward, because resistance only appears when growth is happening. The old version of you avoided resistance. Search for comfort. Look for permission to stop. That version needed certainty before action, needed motivation before effort, needed reassurance before commitment. You don't live that way anymore. Now, you move even when certainty is missing. You act even when confidence is quiet. You trust discipline more than emotion. The trust becomes your edge. When life becomes loud, you remain steady. When chaos spreads, you narrow your focus. While others react emotionally, you respond intentionally. That separation gives you control most people never experience. Control of your time, control of your energy, control of your direction. Direction is everything. Without it, effort scatters. With it, effort multiplies. You begin to understand that discipline is not about doing more. It's about doing less of what weakens you. Less distraction, less avoidance, less compromise, less tolerance for habits that steal momentum. Every removed weakness makes you stronger. Every blow under you in force protects your future. Boundaries are not restrictions, they are declarations. Statements of who you are willing to become and who you refuse to remain. That clarity is powerful. When your standards are clear, decisions become easy. You don't debate endlessly. You don't negotiate with temptation. You already know the answer before the question appears. This is how discipline simplifies life. Not by removing difficulty, but by removing confusion. Confusion drains willpower. Clarity restores it. Once clarity exists, urgency deepens. You stop thinking in weeks and start thinking in years. You see how fast time moves, how quickly days disappear, how silently life passes when you're distracted. That awareness doesn't scare you. It sharpens you. You begin to treat ordinary days with respect, because ordinary days build extraordinary outcomes. What you do when nothing special is happening determines everything that happens later. Discipline turns ordinary days into investments, and investments compound. Small efforts repeated daily grow heavier with time, not all at once, not visibly, but inevitably, until one day, momentum carries you forward faster than resistance can pull you back. That's when discipline becomes self-sustaining. You no longer need reminders. You don't need motivation speeches. You don't need external pressure. Your identity does the work for you. You act as that's who you are now. Identity is stronger than desire. Desire fades. Identity whole. DS. This is why disciplined people don't collapse when life gets hard. Hardship doesn't surprise them. They expect it. They trained for it. They built systems during calm so chaos wouldn't destroy them later. Preparation replaces panic. When pressure arrives, you don't scramble. You execute. You fall back on habits already in place. Habits built patiently when no one was watching. Those habits become your shield. You stop fearing setbacks because discipline taught you how to recover. Fast, clean, without drama, without self-hate, without quitting entirely. You learned that falling doesn't define you, staying down does, and you don't stay down anymore. That resilience changes your posture in life. You stand differently, speak differently, decide differently. You no longer beg life for confidence. You bring it with you. Confidence born from discipline is quiet but undeniable. It doesn't boast. It doesn't seek approval. It doesn't argue. It simply moves. People sense it before you say a word. Not because you're perfect, but because you're consistent. Consistency signals stability. Stability commands trust, even from yourself. Self-trust is the greatest reward discipline gives. When you trust yourself, fear loses leverage. Doubt has no home. You know that no matter what happens, you will respond with effort. That certainty frees your mind. You stop obsessing over outcomes. You focus on execution. You give your energy to what you can control and release what you can't. That mental freedom creates momentum few ever experience. Momentum doesn't come from intensity. It comes from alignment repeated long enough. And alignment transforms everything. Your goals stop feeling distant. Your routines stop feeling heavy. Your discipline stops feeling forced. It becomes natural. You're no longer chasing a better life. You're living in the direction of one. Every day, you reinforce the same message to yourself. I show up. I follow through. I don't abandon my future for comfort. That message reshapes your identity, and identity reshapes destiny. This is the moment when discipline stops being something you practice and becomes something that protects you, protects your time, your focus, your standards, your vision. You are no longer drifting. You are directed, no longer hoping, building, no longer waiting, moving. And once movement becomes part of who you are, nothing can truly stop you. Because disciplined people don't depend on perfect conditions. They become the condition. And when you become the condition, progress is no longer optional. It is inevitable. Inevitable progress changes how you wake up each day. There's no chaos in your thoughts anymore. No panic about falling behind. You move with intention because your direction is clear. You're no longer searching for purpose. You're practicing it daily. That's when discipline stops feeling like effort and starts feeling like loyalty. Loyalty to the future you promised yourself. Loyalty to the life you refused to give up on. Loyalty to the standard you decided would no longer bend. Most people betray themselves quietly, in small moments, in harmless decisions, in choices that don't seem important at the time. Discipline teaches you that nothing is small. Every action is a message. Every habit is a signal, and the message you send repeatedly becomes your reality. You either tell yourself that comfort comes first, or that growth does. There is no third option. This is where urgency sharpens into precision. You realize that waiting costs more than acting, that hesitation drains energy faster than effort, that the price of delay is paid daily, even when you don't notice it. Time does not pause for uncertainty. While you wait to feel ready, life keeps moving. While you debate your next step, opportunities age and expire. Discipline wakes you up to that truth without fear, without panic, without drama. Just clarity. Clarity that says this moment matters, not tomorrow, not someday. Now, because now is the only place action lives, you begin to feel it. The pull to rise. The refusal to settle. The inner resistance toward mediocrity. What once felt acceptable now feels unbearable. You can't unlearn discipline once it takes root. You see through distractions. You recognize fake comfort. You notice how easy it is to waste a life without realizing it. That awareness doesn't depress you. It empowers you. You stop numbing yourself. You stop escaping boredom. You stop chasing stimulation. You learn to sit with discomfort and turn it into fuel. Discomfort becomes direction. When something feels hard, you lean in instead of pulling away. You've learned that ease rarely leads anywhere meaningful. Growth lives where resistance is strongest, and now you are strong enough to go there. Discipline changes your relationship with pain. Pain no longer feels like punishment. It feels like payment. Payment for progress. Payment for transformation. Payment for becoming someone your past self could not imagine sustaining. You no longer ask if the work is worth it. You ask what happens if you stop. That question keeps you grounded, because you remember the frustration, the inconsistency, the disappointment of knowing you could do better and choosing not to. That version of life is no longer acceptable, not because you hate who you were, but because you respect who you become. Respect changes behavior faster than motivation ever could. When you respect yourself, shortcuts lose appeal. Laziness feels foreign. Excuses sound insulting. You stop negotiating your standards away for our temporary relief. You don't need to force discipline anymore. You protect it. You guard your mornings. You defend your focus. You choose routines over randomness. You treat your energy like a limited resource instead of something to waste. That protection compounds. Days start working for you instead of against you. Momentum carries you through moments that used to stop you. Fatigue no longer equals failure. It's simply a signal to rest, not quit. Discipline doesn't demand perfection. It demands return. Return to your habit, return to your structure, return to your commitment, again and again. Each return strengthens identity. Each return deepens belief. Each return proves you are no longer someone who disappears when things get hard. Stay, and staying changes everything. Because success is rarely about intensity. It's about endurance, about who remains standing long enough to benefit from compounding effort. Discipline turns time into an ally while others fight it. You use it, days stack, weeks connect, months transform quietly. You don't notice the change at first, until one day you realize the struggle that once defined you no longer controls you. Your mind is calmer. Your actions are cleaner. Your decisions are faster. You trust yourself. That trust becomes your foundation. From it comes confidence. From confidence comes courage. From courage comes growth that no longer requires external validation. You stop proving yourself to others. You prove yourself to yours. LF, that is the deepest form of power, not dominance over others, mastery over your impulses, control over your direction, commitment to your standards regardless of mood. This is the life discipline builds. Not loud, not flashy, but unshakable. You don't need perfect circumstances. You don't need permission. You don't need motivation to strike. You already have what matters most. Structure, standards, self-trust, and with those in place, progress is no longer something you chase. It's something that follows you. Day by day, choice by choice, relentlessly forward. Relentlessly forward is not a slogan. It's a decision renewed daily. Some mornings you will wake up heavy. The mind will resist. The body will hesitate. Old habits will whisper that slowing down won't hurt. That's when everything you've built is tested. Because discipline is easy to respect when life is smooth. It's hardest when fatigue sits in your bones and doubt clouds your focus. Those moments decide your future more than any breakthrough ever could. Most people fold there, not loudly, quietly. They don't quit forever. They pause. They drift. They loosen standard just enough for chaos to return. Discipline doesn't vanish instantly. It erodes slowly when vigilance disappears. That's why awareness must stay sharp. You are no longer fighting to start. You are fighting to protect what you've built. And protection requires intention. You must guard your habits from comfort. Guard your focus from distraction. Guard your standards from negotiation. Because negotiation is how discipline dies. The mind will try to bargain. It will ask for exceptions. It will suggest shortcuts. It will disguise weakness as reason. Discipline answers with silence and action. Action ends debate every time. You move despite resistance. You reinforce the truth that you are in control. Not of outcomes, not of circumstances, but of response. Response is power. Power is not force. It's consistency under pressure. Pressure reveals everything. When pressure rises, the undisciplined seek escape. The disciplined narrow their focus. They do less, but they do it well. They return to fundamentals. They anchor themselves in routine. Routine is stability. Stability creates confidence. When everything else feels uncertain, you begin to notice something different now. Stress no longer hijacks your decisions. Fear no longer dictates your pace. You don't rush blindly or freeze completely. You adjust. Adjustment is mastery. Life will never be static. Discipline teaches movement without panic. Forward without frenzy. Progress without burnout. That balance is rare. Most swing between extremes, obsession and avoidance, bursts of effort followed by collapse. Discipline creates rhythm instead of chaos. Rhythm sustains growth. Growth sustained becomes transformation. Transformation is not dramatic. It's subtle. It shows up in how you speak to yourself, in how quickly you recover, in how little energy you waste proving anything to anyone. You stop performing. You start building. Building requires patience. Patience requires belief. Belief requires evidence. Evidence comes only from consistency. That loop strengthens with time. Soon your confidence no longer depends on success. It depends on behavior. Even on difficult days, you trust yourself to show up in some form. That trust is freedom. Freedom from anxiety. Freedom from self-doubt. Freedom from the exhausting need to restart your life every few months. You don't restart anymore. You continue. Continuing is powerful because it removes drama. No declarations. No countdowns. No waiting for the perfect moment. Just action. Quiet. Unimpressive. Daily. That is how real lives change. The world glorifies intensity, but intensity fades. Discipline endures. Intensity burns bright, then disappears. Discipline burns low and steady for years. Years matter because time rewards those who respect it. Respect looks like structure, like boundaries, like doing the work before you feel ready, like stopping before burnout instead of after collapse. Discipline teaches restraint as much as effort. You no longer chase everything. You choose deliberately. You say no without guilt. You protect your energy without apology. That selectiveness multiplies results. Less noise. More depth. Depth builds skill. Skill builds confidence. Confidence builds momentum. Momentum makes the impossible feel normal. Things that once intimidated you now feel manageable. Tasks that once drained you now feel familiar. You haven't become superhuman. You become consistent. Consistency is quiet dominance. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't beg for recognition. It accumulates until results speak without permission. At some point, you realize you've crossed a line, not a finish line. A threshold. You are no longer someone trying to change. You are someone who operates differently, different standards, different pace, different priorities. The old life feels distant. The old habits feel foreign. You remember them, but they no longer define you. That's the real victory, not motivation, not excitement, not temporary inspiration. Identity. Identity is what remains when motivation disappears. And now your identity is anchored in discipline, not harsh discipline, honest discipline. The kind that tells the truth when comfort lies, the kind that holds you steady when emotion shakes you, the kind that carries you when energy runs low. This is why disciplined people keep winning quietly, not because life favors them, but because they favor their future over their feelings. Every day, without exception, you don't need to be fearless. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to be extraordinary. You need to be aligned. Aligned with your standards, aligned with your direction, aligned with the person you refuse to stop becoming. That alignment is your advantage. It will outlast motivation, outrun doubt, outwork fear, and once alignment is locked in, momentum doesn't need to be chased anymore. It carries you forward, steady, unstoppable. Unstoppable doesn't mean you never slow down. It means you never surrender direction. Even on the days when progress feels invisible, something inside you keeps moving forward. That inner motion is discipline at work. Quiet, persistent, unwilling to let you fall back into who you used to be, because once you've tasted control, chaos feels unbearable. You remember the old days, the scattered focus, the constant restarting, the frustration of knowing exactly what to do and still not doing it. That memory is no longer shame. It's fuel, a reminder of the cost of drifting. You didn't come this far to return there. The world will test that resolve. It always does. Life doesn't challenge you to break you. It challenges you to reveal who you've become. Pressure arrives to see whether discipline was temporary or rooted. Temporary effort fades. Rooted discipline holds. When exhaustion appears, you don't panic. When progress slows, you don't spiral. When routine feels dull, you don't abandon it. You understand something deeper now. Boredom is the price of mastery. Mastery is built in repetition, in doing the same right things long after excitement disappears. That's the phase when most people quit, not because it's hard, but because it's quiet. Silence scares the undisciplined, but you've learned to trust silence, because silence is where growth settles. It's where habits lock in. It's where identity solidifies. You stop chasing constant stimulation. You stop needing validation. You stop measuring progress emotionally. You measure it by alignment. Did you show up? Did you keep your word? Did you protect your standards? If the answer is yes, the day counts. That mindset changes everything. Success stops being a distant fantasy and becomes a daily behavior. You don't wait for life to reward you. You reward yourself with consistency. Consistency builds pride, not loud pride. Quiet pride, the kind that lets you sleep peacefully. The kind that doesn't need recognition. The kind that comes from knowing you didn't betray yourself today. That feeling is addictive. It replaces motivation entirely. Motivation asks how you feel. Discipline asks who you are, and now you know who you are. You are someone who acts despite resistance. Someone who moves without applause. Someone who understands that the future is not created by bursts of effort, but by standards upheld repeatedly. The understanding gives you patience. You stop rushing outcomes. You stop comparing timelines. You stop panicking when results take time. You know time is working for you now, not against you. That knowledge is calming. While others chase shortcuts, you deepen foundations. While others jump paths, you commit. While others hope, you execute. Execution compounds. Every focused hour adds weight. Every disciplined choice adds strength. Every return after struggle deepens resilience. Nothing is wasted. Even bad days serve you now. They train endurance. They sharpen humility. They remind you that discipline isn't about control over life, but control over self. Control is rare. Rare things are valuable. That's why disciplined people become anchors. In families, in teams, in their own minds. Stability radiates from them. Others feel it before they understand it, because discipline removes volatility. You are no longer ruled by mood swings. You don't rise and fall with emotion. You remain grounded, centered, reliable. Reliability is power. When you are reliable, opportunities trust you. When you are reliable, progress accelerates. When you are reliable, confidence becomes natural. You don't need to hype yourself anymore. Your habits speak, And those habits are shaping something bigger than daily success. They are shaping your character. Character decides how high you rise and how long you stay there. Talent can open doors. Character keeps them open. Discipline builds character one decision at a time. That's why every small choice matters. The workout you almost skipped. The focus you protected. The distraction you refused. Each one reinforced your identity. You are not building results. You are building someone who produces results. That distinction changes how you think. You stop obsessing over goals and start honoring systems. Systems create outcomes automatically. Once systems are strong, discipline feels lighter. Less force. More flow. You're no longer dragging yourself forward. You're carried by structure. Structure frees mental space. Mental space fuels creativity. Creativity expands possibility. Life opens when discipline stabilizes it. You begin to realize something powerful. You don't need to transform everything at once. You just need to keep not quitting, not today, not tomorrow, not when it gets uncomfortable, because quitting resets progress. Continuing compounds it. And you've already built too much to walk away now. Your standards are higher, your awareness sharper. Your tolerance for excuses gone. You know what's required, you know what's at stake, Ty. This isn't about proving anything to the world. This is about honoring the version of you that refused to stay stuck. That version fought quietly, showed up tired, continued unsure, believed without evidence. You owe that version consistency, so when the next hard day comes, you don't ask for motivation. You rely on what you've already built: discipline, steady, grounded, unmovable. And because of that, no matter how slow the progress feels, you are already winning, not someday, now. Winning now doesn't look loud. It looks quiet commitment repeated when no one is watching. It looks like choosing discipline on days that offer no reward. It looks like staying focused while the world begs you to drift. This is the stage where most people relax too early. They think consistency has been earned. They think momentum will maintain itself. They forget that discipline is not a destination. It is a practice. And the moment it's neglected, the old patterns wait patiently to return. They always wait. That's why awareness must stay alive. You don't guard discipline because you're afraid to fail. You guard it because you know how easy it is to slide backward when comfort whispers your name. Comfort doesn't arrive loudly. It doesn't demand. It suggests. It tells you that one day off won't matter, that skipping once won't change anything, that you deserve.